Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another Milsurp Monday video. And before we get this Milsurp Monday video started, I just wanted to let you guys know that we do have a Firearm Freedom merchandise store that is now live. The link for that is down in the description. Anything you purchase directly supports what we do here on Firearm Freedom. While you're down there, if you enjoy this video and you enjoy the other videos on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. It really helps us out. In today's Milsurp Monday video, we are going to be taking a look at this Tula Russian SKS 45. I stumbled across this SKS 45 in the local gun shop that I work at in the used section. This particular one is a CDI import, which is pretty common. You will also notice by the barbecue paint on the top and the laminated stock that this is an Arsenal refurb. For whatever reason, guys, it took me forever to get into the SKS world here on the channel. This is actually the first SKS that I've ever featured, and I don't really know why. It just took me forever to kind of find one at a reasonable price point. But unfortunately, as you guys probably have seen if you're in the SKS market, if you don't already have one right now, prices really are starting to kind of skyrocket on these guns, and you really have to kind of factor in whether or not you want to pay kind of the extremely high prices for a rifle that may or may not be worth that to you. Now, unfortunately, the days of getting these rifles for 99 bucks in a barrel at your local sporting goods store is long over. You can see these Russian SKSs skyrocketing into even the $700 or $800 area in certain shops. Now, obviously, I would say that $700 to $800 is more than I would ever pay for this rifle, and I did not end up paying that. I actually paid around the $400 area for this rifle, which I think is fairly reasonable for what you're seeing them go for. And then on top of that, you have a lot of what I like to call gun show salesmen, where they will come in and jack up the prices even higher just because they have a Russian SKS. Aside from price point, I am super pumped because this is a phenomenal example of a Tula SKS. Now, you will note the star and arrow on the back of the receiver there. Not sure how well it's being picked up on camera, but I will be showing photos of this in back roll so you can get a little bit of a better close-up. That is going to be your Tula stamp. Now, there's mainly two big manufacturers of Russian SKSs that you're going to see on the market today, and one of those is a name that I consistently butcher, so we're just going to call it the Izzy manufactured SKS. You'll hear them commonly referred to that on the US market, and those are most definitely the more desirable version of the Russian SKS. But I am absolutely more than happy to pick up this Tula. Now, you also heard me mention earlier in the video that this is an Arsenal refurb. What exactly does it mean to have an Arsenal refurb Russian SKS? Well, majority of the Russian SKSs that are here in the US market are Arsenal refurb. It's very rare now that you're going to find one that has not been Arsenal refurbed. And honestly, guys, although the Arsenal refurbs are slightly less collectible rifles, I see a huge pro in the fact that it's actually a better performing rifle overall. Some other points to note that you'll always see about an Arsenal refurb is most of the time they will have these pretty gorgeous laminate stocks on them. The reason for this is because they have actually scavenged a bunch of either damaged stocks or other pieces of the original birchwood stocks that were on the standard SKSs in the factories, and they would actually sandwich them together and make a laminated stock, which is what you see here. The plus side is you are getting a much stronger stock than the original birchwood stock that's on the standard SKS 45. On top of that, you get a super cool look. So that is a first indication of an Arsenal refurbed SKS. On top of that, you guys will commonly hear referred to the barbecue paint on these refurbed SKSs. The barbecue paint, unfortunately, is this kind of ugly looking paint that they generally put on the receivers of these rifles and on the barrels, gas tube, pretty much any metal part. I got super lucky in the fact that the barbecue paint on this rifle is actually not bad at all. It is a really even coat, and you can see it's kind of like a smooth finish on the bolt. It's not chipping off or anything like that. This particular Russian SKS is from 1951. There are quite a few major changes going on in this design in the early 50s. You had a transition to more of a blade bayonet rather than a spike bayonet. You actually had a better chrome-lined barrel, which this one is as well. Now, the final point that you're going to notice on all Arsenal refurbs, you'll notice a small rectangle with a diagonal line through it, right underneath the Tula manufacturing stamp. That is actually your official Arsenal refurb mark. So that's something you're always going to want to pay attention to. All Arsenal refurbs are going to have that. Now, I have to say, guys, again, the fit and finish on this example is phenomenal. You can notice on this rifle, the original Cyrillic serial number right here ends in 1164. On the back of the dust cover, we also have a 1164. On the bottom of the magazine, you have 1164, trigger guard 1164, and then finally, on the receiver itself, you have a 1164. And the one other part that actually may be force matched now that you will see on camera is actually the gas tube. And you'll notice here the paint looks a little bit different, and you have an electro penciled serial number underneath there. That actually may be the only part that is force matched to the gun, which is not a huge deal. Now, I've heard kind of hit or miss things on CDI imports. They imported a lot of these SKSs back in the day, and unfortunately this one did not come with the original import box. Now, the one thing I do appreciate on CDI is the fact that they have right back here behind the serial number, they have a CDI import mark and a made in Russia. Now, the nice thing about this import marking is the fact that it's super low profile. It's so sad to see huge, massive import marks here on the barrel that are just super ugly. So we can get into now how this rifle shot. I've shot quite a few other SKSs, and I have to say this is one smooth shooting rifle. The one thing that I can definitely notice immediately compared to other SKSs is how smooth the bolt cycles back and forth in the action. I have one Yugo SKS that you guys are going to be seeing on a Milsurp Monday video very soon on the channel, and it is quite a bit more gritty in the spring. It's not the end of the world, and it's still very smooth, but it's nowhere near as smooth as this Russian SKS. I have felt also some Chinese SKSs, and again, generally they're a little bit more gritty. Another nice thing about this rifle is the bore is in excellent condition. A lot of the time, it's sad to see, but people will shoot corrosive ammo through their SKSs. They don't end up cleaning those corrosive salts with a bottle of water or something like that at the range, so you will see these bores completely corroded out a lot of the time. Another important thing when you're looking at an SKS in a shop is to always check the bore. Now, I did experience a very odd magazine issue. What was happening about 4 or 5 times throughout my range day, midway through the session, was the magazine latch would actually, with recoil, pop backwards, and my magazine would fly out of the gun, and all of my rounds would drop with it. Now, the interesting thing is you would think this would only happen if, say, you had a fully loaded magazine and maybe it was a little bit too much pressure going down. The first 3 times that this happened, it was actually with the last round fired in the magazine. That would indicate that it's actually not the spring pressure going downward, but the spring pressure with the actual lever here that holds the magazine in place. Now, just feeling this with my hand, it feels like it has proper tension on it. It's not falling back and forth. It's not really like flying out of place or anything like that. So to be honest with you guys, I was kind of stumped. I don't actually know why that was happening. And if that has happened with your Russian SKS in the past, or you guys know maybe something that I don't in this video, I would love it if you could comment down below and let me know what you think that is, or maybe some solutions that you might have. Unfortunately, the only thing I could resort to at the range day was kind of crude, but it did work, which was just moving my hand further back on the actual rifle and just kind of holding this in place with recoil. Now, obviously, once I did that, I did not experience any other further issues, but it was kind of unfortunate that that was popping out, and it made it to somewhat of an annoying range day because I was picking my rounds up off the ground a couple of different times. But overall, aside from that magazine issue, I had no other issues with this rifle. This rifle overall is in great shape, and I am so happy to finally add a Russian SKS to the collection. Aside from just the unfortunate part about the price points skyrocketing on these rifles, this is a rifle I've kind of always wanted to have. Whether or not you believe the Russian SKS is one of the better SKSs on the market for countries that manufacture them, it's just kind of cool to have a Russian SKS. A lot of people have Chinese or Yugos, and that's just fine, but none of them quite have the soul that the Russian Tula or Izzy SKSs have on the market. Now, you will hear these referred to as just standard SKSs and SKS 45s. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the description, but I believe it is basically the same thing when referring to a Russian SKS to call it an SKS or an SKS 45. So ultimately, guys, that's going to wrap up our Milsurp Monday video on the Russian Tula SKS. I'm super excited to get this guy into the collection and shoot it a bunch more at the range. If you guys have any other comments or questions about this particular rifle, send them down below in the comment section, and you guys know I will always get back to you. While you're down there, check out that description, and there are links to the Firearm Freedom Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account where we do daily posts that you guys are not going to want to miss. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.